It's just a fascinating moment in the culture of this country. I hope not one with long-term impact. I hope it's something that's, you know, some chapter in a book 100 years from now is like, wow, what a strange period in American history that was. But I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I don't think any of us know. I guess that's why you guys are doing this. Nobody knows.
I'd like to thank God that I live in a black and white world where I know what lies beneath my face, where I know what's under the streets, covered and concealed by cold concrete, and how I'd love to shake the hand of the man who made it so easy. A string of binary code, just a 1 and 0 forged in black on the back of my white hand. I'd like to thank God that I live in a verified world where a new statistic is born every single second. To a black and white world, the numbers back up, written and recorded onto public record. Space between the black and the white is everything I'll ever need to satiate my appetite. The blue and red that never seems to fade to gray.
Not to be overly dramatic about it, and I don't want to push it, but it's the most important election since the Lincoln-Douglas election,
Yes.
where you have the country so firmly divided on, are we going one direction, or are we going another direction? And
Normally divided. It's just
No,
now
but
everyone
now
cares.
This is so in the middle.
Moments of silence, organized speech and chaotic quiet. So my ears can ring the sounds of the heroes of history who breathed and served the black and white path for me.
We take for granted what's going to happen next Tuesday. And, you know, that may be the difference. Now that I think, that may be the difference, you know, in terms of what's different in 2004 versus 2000. It's that sense that people aren't taking it for granted, you know?
As long as I don't get drafted, I don't care what happens.
Do you feel like there's a specific vote you should make to keep that from being a reality?
I think Bush is more pro-war, so I guess I'd vote for Kerry if I had to stay out of it.
Are you going to vote?
Moments of silence, organized speech and chaotic quiet. So my ears can ring the sounds of the heroes of history who breathed and served the black and white path for me.
you can go online. I don't know where these actually exist, but there's political parties like the Active Communist Revolution Party that like want to overthrow the government. And if it's part of your ideological consistency to not vote because you want active revolution, okay, fine. I hope you don't win. What's up, dude?
I wish I know more about it, but
don't know what I can say about it.
I think that most folks in Columbia just go back to work on Wednesday after the election, and deal with it. Hopefully it'll be the right deal.
Okay, here's the deal. Don't be a sucker. Vote.
Look at the facts. Just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, I used to be a liberal until I lived in Massachusetts for 4 years, and I know all about John Kerry.
I have the mark of John Kerry upon my breast.
I think he's a fake and a fraud and a liar. I wouldn't let him run my lemonade stand, let alone my country.
Voting is hot.
Vote. Get rid of W.
We've got to live together. We're all in everything together. We're on a very small planet, and it's important to work together.
John Kerry never set forth a plan, never set forth anything to take care of the terrorists. And I know a lot of people said wrong war, wrong time, wrong place, but at the same time, our friends, our children, and our relatives are fighting their rear ends off in this war to make sure that we here in America are safe.
2 + 2 does not equal 5. War is not peace.
I don't want to live in a theocracy.
The best way to predict whether somebody's going to vote Democrat or Republican in the United States today is to ask them how often they attend church.
We're both Christians, and so I'm looking to make sure that we get back to our Christian values as a nation. That's my prayer.
If you attend church weekly or more often, you are twice as likely to vote Republican as if you attend church less than weekly or not at all.
George spends far too much time talking about how he's on a mission from God, which sounds vaguely to me like the Antichrist.
Oh, this is such an important election. Extremely important.
Most of the time, we vote on candidates who are opposed to abortion.
The gay marriage issue.
The appointment of Supreme Court judges. The stance on abortion.
Terrorism.
Whether or not we should be in the war.
The gay marriage issue.
The employment issues.
Economic issues.
Mainly like abortion.
The environment.
Choice.
Where are the weapons of mass destruction?
Women's rights in general.
The defense of marriage issue.
Gay and lesbian rights. A huge list.
Well, it's hard to say, but which one wins, it will not be a problem for the relations between America and China, I think.
I like the notion that there will come a time of healing. That this has been the most divisive presidency that I've ever experienced.
That's what this election amounts to. Like, people like these nice little categories of liberal and conservative. When the thing is,
They're going to say, I'm voting for Kerry because he's not Bush.
everything that September 11th did, he hoarded out and used it for his own arbitrary political agenda, which hasn't solved anything.
Yeah.
America is not safer now.
If you're not in favor of killing people who, really have no involvement in this whatsoever, then you're un-American.
I think most Americans share a lot of values, in fact. I think political parties are using differences to drive distinctions, and they always have, and bully for them. That's what they should do. That's politics in a nutshell. So long as it's based on fact and evidence and not lies. And I think that's been a significant difference in this campaign season, is that certainly not for the first time people have been lying to people, but for the first time people have been as bold as they've been in this election season, that whenever you're in doubt, just make something up.
Did you make your hat?
I'm supposed to be like Peter Pan, Peter Pot. We're having a benefit concert.
For what?
Propositions 1 and 2. Raising
What are
money to
those?
support Propositions 1 and 2. Reforming Columbia's marijuana laws. So we've put 2 propositions on the ballot, 1 and 2. One's for medical marijuana, 2's for reducing penalties for misdemeanor possession. Any happy little thoughts?
Peter Pot is here, and soon Tinkerbell will appear with her magic dust. And all you have to do is believe.
And you can have
You can go back in time and vote.
or you can at least
Or you
lie.
can just, yeah, there you go.
What are you guys high right now?
What's up? Did you have fun last night?
Is that where you see the polarization being? Do you see the polarization being a class line issue, or do you see it someplace else?
Well, I don't think you can ever reduce it to pure class. I mean, not a Marxist. I don't subscribe to economic reductionism or anything like that.
I think polarized is probably the wrong word. I don't know the right word. Polarized suggests negatives, right? That fear is driving the election, and I think that's a large part of it. There's no question. There are things to be fearful about. The fate of the world, blah blah blah. But I also, I sense this real energy, this really kind of very cool energy, and people mobilized to go for their guy. And that's democracy. I mean, that, if that's polarization, well, that's okay with me. The Missourian is a 96-year-old publication that was begun by Walter Williams. It is the largest 7,000 circulation newspaper in the world. I'm quite confident to say that. We have about 120 reporters. We can do the kind of reporting that no 100,000 population town can afford to do. And this city is really fortunate. I mean, it's fortunate to have the Columbia Daily Tribune as well. It's the smallest community we can find that has two competing dailies. What hasn't changed is the default model of elections coverage, and that is that elections are about winning and losing, about winners and losers, about the horse race.
And a lot of it has to do with that skewed, warped notion of objectivity that, on the other handism, that we display over and over and over again during this campaign. Here's a mountain of evidence over here, but on the other hand, and then we allow whoever has whatever wild allegation to make it, in the interest of what? Balance? I mean, it's absurd.
One thing about the horse race coverage is that it only requires two sides. Balance is easy. Fairness is not.
I have never been more certain in my life that where I stand in this election is absolutely the right side. It is time for moderate Republicans to think about taking back their party.
Bush and Cheney have been to the state of Missouri 20 times this year. Let me tell you why they came to the state of Missouri. They're scared to death. We have an organization in Springfield. Scares them to death. People are freaking out because yard signs are getting taken out of Blue Springs and Lee Summit and St. Charles. Rip all the yard signs down you want. All that tells me is that we're very organized. We talk to our voters and we're sticking signs in their yard. We know where our votes are. The Republicans have the 72-hour plan, which I haven't seen. So we call ours the 72-hour and 20-minute program because we're 20 minutes better than those guys. All right? I don't know what their plan is, but for the next 5 days, everybody you talk to, don't tell them to go vote for us. Just tell them to go vote. I think at this point, folks know who they're voting for. And guess what? If you're in a race that's 49 to 45 and 6% of the people haven't decided who they're voting for, and you've been in the White House for 3.5 years, and you can't get over 50% in the state of Missouri, you are some kind of screwed. So there's no doubt in my mind that with your help in 5 days, we're going to get this done. Thank you very much. There's food in there. There's drink in there. Let's get it done.
Okay, great.
I think Democrats spend time caring about the middle class, caring about kids, caring about making sure that everybody gets to live the American dream, as opposed to the Bush guys who give the tax breaks to the richest 2% and give big companies all of their laws and all that stuff. I think after 2000, people understand what their vote means. I mean, if 546 more people would have voted a different way in the state of Florida, it really made a difference. So people understand with tens of millions of votes cast, it come down to 540 some. That's why we got 220 new thousand registrants in the state of Missouri. I mean, people understand what it is, and they're going to go vote, and we're going to make sure they get out to vote.
God bless America, land that I love.
you, Ashley. You may be seated.
The president is ahead in Missouri, and as a bellwether state, it is important that we keep it that way. We are very cautious about a couple of things. First of all, the opposition is lobbying major forays on all sorts of fronts against the president. We expected that, and we will counter them, and the president's team will counter them. So we are very optimistic about the way it goes, because John Kerry's pessimistic messages and his internationalist policies just don't cut it here in Missouri. As they say, this dog, that dog don't hunt.
Will you tell us about that item?
From the NRA. It's from the NRA. It's a cigarette, or it's actually a cigar lighter.
Yeah, that's a little bigger than a cigarette.
Yeah, it's pretty. Something like that could kill somebody. You know what I'm talking about? You could really hurt somebody.
Only in the wrong hands.
Yeah, only in the wrong hands.
What have been the big issues for you this year?
For me, I'm a small business owner. So I have a small company here in town that employs 35 employees, and anybody that I believe in my heart of hearts is going to help the small businessman in the form of keeping taxes down, which enables me as a business owner to give more back to my staff, which in turn I have happy staff. I think that's most important.
I have my cell with me. Do you have your cell on you?
I do not. I've left it in my car because I thought that's going to be a problem. So I can never find you. You know that.
That's why I have my cell.
Where are you sitting? You're not sitting.
Not much. I'm supposed to be over 41.
What are these?
These are flashes. These let me know who is supposed to have photographs with a glass.
Who gets those?
And we move them from one side to the other. It depends on whether they were sponsors or not at certain levels. The enticement was photographs.
Oh, photographs. Gotcha.
So we started on the left. We moved to the right.
Thank you all for coming out. I'm going to keep my remarks rather brief because we've got some live entertainment coming up. I will tell you this, we kind of lucked out, although it was kind of bad luck. This should have been Game 6 of the World Series tonight. It should have been. Let me say in all seriousness, and I think we see a glimpse of the fact that with Lindsay here and with Scott and with Bucky, how blessed we are as a nation, obviously, to have George W. Bush as our commander-in-chief. But without question, the secret to his success is the fact that he knows his 2 feet are grounded. The man that you get to meet, as I've gotten a little glimpse of it, he doesn't have a pet nickname for me, Scotty. But the man that you see behind the scenes is exactly the same man that speaks from the podium. A man who knows the definition, knows what the meaning of is. A man who truthfully has restored honesty and integrity to the Oval Office of the highest office in the land, which is important. But as we got back on the president's bus, that was when Scott McClellan, this press person, told the president that CNN had just broken the story that the 1,000th casualty in Iraq had occurred. So as Karl Rove and Scott McClellan, Andy Card, and I was there with the president, and so as the bus was pulling away, really we were this somber moment on the bus. The president said exactly what I was thinking. He said, the 1,000th casualty is a tragic event, just as the first American casualty was a tragic event, just as the 3,000 who lost their lives on September the 11th was a tragic event. This man gets it, ladies and gentlemen. We have to re-elect George W. Bush on Tuesday. Let us make the most of this moment, President Bush told us. A moment in history that has been given to no other people, to build a nation that is not only rich in goods, but rich in goodness. A nation that is not just the envy of the world, but world's inspiration. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
There are a lot of students here who maybe lean conservative. They may not be really political, but they lean conservative. But at the same time, I mean, there are a lot of more liberal voices on campus to compete with. I think in general, college students are caring about the same types of issues that most other, cross sections of America are caring about. Of course, like education is a concern. Affordable tuition rates and things like that are always going to be an issue.
Tax cuts actually generate more money for people to spend in the economy, which then brings in more taxes through sales taxes and other such things. So the tax cuts will be generating a lot more revenue to cover some of the president's programs. And yeah, I'll be the first one to admit that the president has been spending like a drunken sailor. He has. But we also have to consider what's happened since he was elected. We have a war on terrorism here. We have a conflict that is possibly the greatest of our times, and we need to fight it. And so we need to consider that when looking at any spending and saying that, yes, well, the world is a different place now than it was before Bush got elected.
Both sides will clearly admit that September 11th defined George Bush's presidency. It was the most shocking thing to happen since Pearl Harbor, an attack on our own soil. Afterwards, the entire world was with us, everyone, and the entire country was behind George Bush. How have we gone from that to where we find ourselves today? A bitterly divided electorate, one of the most negative campaigns we've ever seen in our life. There's a reason that we're like that. President Bush took the emotional mandate that he had from countries all over the world and from the people here, and he used it to put forth a right-wing agenda. Tax cuts, all the gay marriage stuff, all that type of stuff was pushed, and that has divided people. And that's a real problem, because as John said, you have to unite as a country after this election, no matter who wins. We have to work together, and we have to realize that the kind of campaign that we've seen in the past several months is not good for America. It's often thrown as a criticism of John Kerry that he has nuanced positions, or that he sees both sides of things. He sees complexities in the world. Unfortunately, that's what grown-ups need to do, especially people who are president of the United States.
I am not a John Kerry internationalist. John Kerry said, 30 years ago that he would not want to see United States troops deployed anywhere in the world unless it was at the directive of the United Nations. I do not believe that. And in a similar vein, his whole global test comment was really disturbing, I think, to a lot of people. You wonder what it takes for something to pass John Kerry's global test.
The last 4 years have demonstrated to me rather convincingly that Mr. Bush doesn't particularly care for many of the strictures of democratic government. His vision of the people's role in governing is borderline disdain. And so I know over the last 4 years have definitely, my eyes are wide open. When you start refuting evidence and you start sort of reviling fact, I mean, there's just a sort of hatred for factual evidence right now that troubles me. When presented with fact, we replace it with emotion. And that's a bad way to make policy. It's a bad way to make law, a bad way to run your country. All I know is I have lots and lots and lots of friends, most of them Democratic, because, I'm a college professor, but most of them say, I didn't vote last time, but I'm damn sure going to vote this time. And I'm not sure that's the case on the right. I don't feel the groundswell that I feel on the Democratic side, which I really haven't felt for years, on the Democratic side of people joining or just sort of reawakening. That's my optimism, I guess. The realism says, I don't know. And nobody does. Anybody who reports to, in fact, when I watch TV and I see people purport to know who's going to win, I just think it absolutely makes public fools of them because they don't know any more than we know.
Today is Friday, October the 29th, and if nothing dramatic happens between now and when the polls close Tuesday, George Bush will be reelected. There are a great many indicators that have been used in the past to predict these elections that point toward the president. A lot of them have to do with the economy. The economy is improving. The people's sort of satisfaction with how things are is high enough. His approval ratings are right around 50%. No president has ever had an approval rating below 50% and has been reelected, but he's right at that.
Also, I mean, the Bush administration, since 9/11, has used fear to really drive the country. I mean, Tom Ridge and his orange, yellow, purple, blue alerts, like, at this point, it's hard to even keep track of what alert status we're in or whether we need duct tape or plastic for our windows. But when you have people that feel that threatened and feel constantly like they might be attacked and there might be a sleeper cell around the corner, they're going to look to Bush as the guy that keeps them safe. And I think that's completely intentional on his part, that I will keep you safe. But you're not safe. You're safer, but you're not yet safe, so you still need me.
This should never, ever be taken for granted, this amazing system that we have. And it's got warts. I mean, my goodness. I mean, there are going to be serious problems someplace in the United States Tuesday about the election, and people will raise a stink about it. But let's fix it. But sure, I think people take it for granted, but it's a fabulous system, and it works. I mean, it's creaky and smelly sometimes, but it works, and it's, look where we are as a country. We're less than 250 years old, and this planet has never seen anything like this, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're just a good old-fashioned democracy, the likes of which has never been seen before, and we've made it work.
I think the best thing that I could do today is come out with a pom-pom and a cat on my head and just scream at people. So that's what I'm going to do.
A lot of people are not willing to talk about who they voted for. We're just trying to get out the vote today. Trying to get as many people to the polls as we possibly can.
What do you think that means?
They're probably voting for the wrong person.
Bush is doing a good job. He needs to stay in office.
I voted for 2 reasons. To get George Bush out of office and to get John Kerry in there.
I think people are waking up. And sometimes it takes a bad fall to wake up.
I believe that America needs change. And with that change, we'll see a new dawn.
We're doing everything short of dragging people from their homes and feeding them until they vote.
Here, you take it. You don't want it, pass it on to somebody else. Tell them the same thing. Don't be a sucker. Vote. Thank you. Every vote counts. Have you been doing this since midnight? Vote as if your life depended on it. Vote. My daughter is 13 and she will not grow up in a fascist regime. If it were me, I'd stay here and fight. If it doesn't go my way, we're leaving the country. I'm giving up my citizenship. We can't be a target. I can't have my daughter walking around with a target on her. Registered Boone County voters? Registered Boone County voters? Just this once, do it for me. Just this once. I don't care if you never vote again in your life. Do it this time. You voted!
You think we're gonna know tonight?
No, but I think we'll probably know early tomorrow morning, and I think that John Kerry's going to win. I really think he is.
I think he's going to win. I think I'm going to be wasted until he does win.
We're doing heavy drinking either way.
What we can have you guys do is visibility. This morning we put up a lot of signs and a lot of them disappeared. So if we can have people holding signs, they're not going to take you, obviously. We've said all along this election's neck and neck, and it's going to come down to who mobilizes their sporadic voter, their undecided voter. And today we've had hundreds of volunteers. We're doing phone banking. This is a canvas. We just ran out of all 49 precincts to go knock on doors. It's looking real good for us because we've got such a tight volunteer network.
One of the things that's kind of good about an election day is that we know it's going to happen, and that changes things dramatically. When something blows up, you don't necessarily know that that's going to happen. The number of stories that come in on an election night is at least double, probably triple the number of stories that we deal with on a regular night. So we've got all these extra reporters writing all this extra copy, which means we've got extra pages and we need extra people to do all the work of getting that copy onto those pages. And there's a lot of work that goes on past that stage of writing up what happened. Every story goes through a number of editors before it winds up on the page, and there are actually designers who have to design what the pages look like as well. And so that was some of the coordination we were doing, is how are we going to structure the ordering of those pages to make sure they all get done by that 1:30 a.m. time that we have to send the pages. Or we have to send the last page across the street to our printing plant in order for it to get printed.
Head is filled with luxury. I'll leave my heart in your hands. We spin each other down empty streets into the spotlight's glare. And at the party headquarters, people jump up and stare. The locations and cat calls too are worn continuously.
I've gotten a lot of people that have already voted, and in the off chance that somebody decides to talk to me about politics, I get a lot of people who are Republican. It actually seems that I've gotten a lot more people that have already voted than I thought I would have. I've always heard that, you know, our generation is the kind that doesn't really get out and get involved in something like this, but I've had a lot more people who've already voted than I thought I would. Have you voted yet?
Did you vote with the markers?
Yeah.
It just felt weird to me. I don't know.
What are you used to?
I never voted before.
It's the first time.
I lost my virginity to John Kerry today. Did it hurt? A little.
You can ask that for the number of people who have voted. You may not talk to voters inside the voting room. You must ask permission before taking pictures of voters. You may not take any film of voters in such a way that it shows how the voter has voted, like over their shoulders while they're voting. Man, that would be so rude.
I'm still a little hesitant, but I'm hoping that when we see the results of all the new voters and all the people with cell phones who don't get polled and everything, I'm pretty sure the Kerry's going to pull this one out.
I'm volunteering to make sure that the voting laws are followed.
How did you get that job?
I volunteered for it. They just freak, so I take it off. But that's just good. That's what you want.
Yeah.
I'd rather have them overly cautious than I think they've been trained in Boone County very well to watch out for stuff. I was watching you film the woman in there who was obviously, it looked to me like she filled out a provisional ballot. And I was interested to see if they were directing people to provisional ballots for address problems or if they were sending them on to the proper polling place. because of provisional ballot, I don't think it's a good idea.
So have you all been here all day?
We've been here since 5:30 this morning.
I think we've had a very heavy vote.
We actually leave everybody out, and at that point, we start counting ballots. We have to count, we have to know how many we had in the morning, we have to know how many we have in the evening. They have to match up. We do not need the perception that there are ballots floating out there. We take it downtown, the 2 supervisors, 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, get in a car together. We are nice, we do not fight. We do not listen to the news, and do we? And we take it down to the clerk's office, and that happens in every precinct, all 90-plus precincts in the county, and statewide. That's the end of it. Good evening.
I predict it's going to be a long night.
Either way, because I think a lot of people are coming out to vote. I think that it's important. I got a lot of people to vote that wouldn't have voted before.
I'm really glad to see as many people out there voting as there was this year. And I went to class today. Every single student had already voted. And I haven't seen a turnout like this ever.
I'm not sure one way or the other. Just
Undecided?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's their last few debates are pretty much, you know, since I work at a daycare, it's kind of like going back to the daycare and listening to the kids bickering back and forth about different things.
Thanks, guys. We got a couple more. We wanted to thank all you guys for coming out and voting. That's really awesome.
Gotta have some more coffee.
So you guys got about an hour left?
An hour left until we're supposed to be off the floor. I wouldn't be surprised if we miss it by a little bit. And it's kind of messy because we got a bunch of different scenarios still could play out. We got some, the governor's race is too close to call, the lieutenant governor's race is too close to call. And you know, all the conventional wisdom seems to point toward Bush being president, but we don't have, you know, we're not political pundits. We can't just make that call. You know, we have to get it from somebody. So, meanwhile, our deadline approaches, so we have to weigh: Do we want to look a little bit silly and come out tomorrow morning saying the presidential race is too close to call when we know by tomorrow morning that's not going to be the case? We just don't want to take a chance and do the old Dewey defeats Truman either. So we got about 28 minutes to sort through all that.
TikTok, I'm just messing. Still counting.
You need to submit your story to Sneller right now.
Waiting for Ohio? I'm serious. That's what we're waiting for, isn't it?
AP just called the governor's race.
Can somebody find out when the hell these people take office?
If we could shorten it, say, like it moves from felony to misdemeanor, or possession.
No longer a felony.
Lawyers for I've been asked to take any actual numbers out and rewrite those paragraphs just to suggest margins of victory.
Hot possession. Write it in. See if it fits.
What do you need? I get it.
You gotta be freaking kidding me. What?
He's been freaking called governor by the AP. Shit.
Oh yeah, John Edwards.
They're
Forgot
sending
about
out
him.
Edwards.
Oops, sorry.
That means they're rallying. That means.
Is that Kerry coming out?
No, that's Edwards. That means they're going to rally him. They wouldn't send Edwards to do that for him.
Here we go.
Thank you.
That means they're not going to concede, because Kerry would concede himself. So that means they're going to rally the troops. Keep going.
Who's that?
That's Edwards.
Edwards.
It's Edwards.
If there's a great quote, let's get it right. We can.
Somebody get ready.
We can do a sentence right on the front page. So thank you.
Thank you. No.
It's been a long night, but we've waited 4 years for this victory. We can wait one more night.
That's it.
We can wait one more night.
Tonight, John and I are so proud of all of you who are here with us and all of you across the country who have stood with us in this campaign. And John Kerry and I made a promise to the American people that we did
Tell them longer than 79 days to inauguration. Somebody double check that.
I'll do it right now.
Good. Looked at everything. Just here in that space.
We will fight for every vote. You deserve no less. Thank you.
And the clock just struck 2:30 in Boston, Massachusetts. The vice presidential candidate has come to the podium and said we can wait one more night.
Boy, I'd like to jump in here on some language, but we ain't getting pretty. Need a space between 1:30 and a.m. No, you gotta keep it at 1 because that's popular votes. We don't know.
That's fine, okay. But this one we can change.
Yeah. Let it go.
Okay, 6 is good.
1 is going.
Woo!
Everything. Let it go. Let it go. Let it
The
go.
voice of caffeine, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's 1:45.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Nice work, everyone.
Hey, we gotta do this all over again tomorrow. Tomorrow's a big day.
Yeah.
Okay? We got a whole nother election day
We have a
tomorrow.
president page.
Maybe even a whole other election month.
Wind it up.
You get another big one.
I mean, you know, democracy is not efficient. Is not efficient, but it's effective if people keep complaining. You know, people keep saying, "Hey, this isn't right. Let's make it better."